Jordan Belfort has built his entire sales empire on a few key principles that if you create enough urgency, if you have enough certainty, if you loop around with features and benefits and create enough pressure and trigger that impulse buy in people, then anyone will buy. And for years, that has trickled down into the mainstream. And every terrible sales trainer has been teaching people to overcome objections, dump features, be overly confident, and create massive amounts of scarcity. But I'm here to tell you, if you try to apply those frameworks and that way of selling to your buyers, it will absolutely destroy your close rate. I've closed over 200 million in high ticket sales, and I can tell you with absolute certainty, if you're trying to force decisions from prospects, you're not creating a consistent pipeline of sales, you're just creating a refund factory. So throughout this next video, I'm going to show you where Jordan Belfort potentially misses the mark with a few things and what he could have done better. So you can take everything from this video and apply it to your own sales calls, because a lot of these mistakes you might be making, and all it takes is these subtle tweaks to go from a 20% close rate to a 40% close rate. Now, before we go into it, I want to preface this with the fact that I am probably in sales because of Jordan Belfort. When I was starting this journey 10 years ago, I read all of his book, his film about his life inspired me. I did not even know that level of success could be achieved within sales. The way that he treats sales like an art form and a skill that can be taught to anyone inspired me. Most of the things that Jordan does are great. And there is without a doubt strategies and frameworks and structures that Jordan teaches that are on the money. And they've paved the way for sales coaches like me and many others that came before me to learn this skill and become better at it. And he made it easy, he made it simple, and he made it so everyone can follow it. But one of the biggest issues you're going to face as a salesperson is pattern recognition. As humans, we basically perceive the world through patterns. That's how we can perceive colours, right? As simple as that. Is by identifying patterns in things, and that's how we make sense of them in our mind. The issue a lot of the times with how Jordan sells, which I'm going to go through in this video, is it's going to trigger the pattern response in a prospect. Oh, this is another salesperson. And that is the last thing that you want to be. That's exactly why I developed my anti-sales method, because I want you to be as far away from a salesperson as possible. Because salespeople in society are viewed pretty low status and people don't really trust them. Like snake oil salesman is one of the oldest phrases about someone who's basically a scammer, right? People perceive salespeople in that way, which we aren't. We are often just trying to help people, and we're helping them by allowing them to get out of their own way and hold up a mirror. So the way in which I teach people to sell is completely different. It's the other end of the spectrum. So without further ado, let's get into it. Jordan, I love you. You're amazing. Definitely not watching this video, but let's go through it anyway.
So far, so good. Yeah. So far, so good. Sorry to do this, I've only got about 20 minutes. But
I get it.
hopefully we get to the fun things.
Perfect. So real quick, I guess the way I usually work is I kind of want to know about you, your company, what kind of challenges you're facing right now, what's right in your business, what's wrong with your business, and based on that, what we do here at we kind of tailor make our strategies to directly suit our clients' needs. We have 3 areas of excellence we focus on: capital markets, hedging strategies, commodities hedging, finance for your business; B, investment banking, public, raise any money for specific projects, both foreign and domestic; and lastly, of course, asset management, your land, your trucks, and trying to maximize your value there. But again, that's just broad areas. I look to each client kind of as a unique situation and try to kind of tailor it. So if you had to say one thing right now in your business that was kind of...
Wow. Anyone who's watching this right now, if you sat down for a meeting with someone, or a sales call, a video call, and the first thing that they did was unload like that, your sales resistance is going to be up here, thinking this guy is a salesperson. He's just unloaded features, benefits, an overly forced frame. That's just going to push you in the opposite direction. That's not building trust. That's not building rapport. It's so obviously the beginning of a sales pitch. When you're opening a call or a meeting, the first thing you want to do is lower the guard. We're not going to do this by asking the weather, what time is it over there, what football team do you support, anything like that. We'll speak about the topic that they're here for. So where did you come across us? What stood out about XYZ company that made you actually book a call? They're like basic ways how we could start the conversation. What I like to do is make sure that I always send prospects some form of value before they speak with me. So we can speak about that as we open the call and say, did you get those documents I sent over to you? Were they helpful? How were they helpful? because how those value items were helpful to the prospect is probably going to give me a really good indication already of potentially where they need help. And then, rather than doing a forced call frame, which triggers sales resistance because every motherfucking salesperson in the world does it, I prefer to get straight into the call and start to understand why they're here. But rather than starting it and saying something like, what's the biggest challenge? Because again, to me, that seems really salesy. I would probably try to figure out where they actually want to go at the beginning. So asking things like, what's the biggest reason you're looking to improve your marketing right now? What's the biggest reason you're looking to make money online? This is going to tie a really clear outcome to the rest of the call, and that's going to serve as an anchor for us as the salespeople, because we know they want to get somewhere, that they aren't there already, and then we can build challenges and pain into that. But let's start the call with this really clear outcome of where we can take the prospect, because that's going to allow us to contrast all the other aspects of the call, things like the current situation, where they're at currently, what they've been trying up until now, against that outcome. And it gives us just a really solid anchor for the rest of the call. And on top of that, it's way more conversational than just unloading like Jordan did here.
I like to be the most common. What would be? Stop you from growing as fast as you could.
It's probably uncertainty around China. You know, we're a business that's really got its history very much rooted in Australia. We've had some experience in Singapore and Hong Kong.
Right, different markets.
China's really unknown to us.
Right.
And you know, that does keep me awake at night a little bit.
In the sense of that, obviously, to fill the demand, you have to kind of grow a certain amount of, or produce a certain amount of crop, and then, or milk, and then you're not sure if they're going to buy or not.
So this prospect here gave us a very surface level response with not much context. He said, basically, China's a bit unknown, struggling with China a little bit, keeps me awake at night. That is what I would call a surface level response. Really, us as closers, we don't have any information there, really. We know something's concerning him about China, but we don't know what. We don't know the specifics behind it. And what Jordan did, I guess, a different way that I would do things here, is he starts putting words in the prospect's mouth. So what you're trying to say is X, Y, Z, and then unloads and talks even more. You can get into tricky water with that, because it's so much more powerful for a prospect to tell you their problems, for you to fill in the gaps for them and make that assumption. I would have continued asking questions here to get more context, and then understood how that context potentially affecting growth, how it's affecting sales, what are the knock-on effects from that, what's that stopping you from potentially achieving as a business, etc., etc., rather than just filling in the gap with what I think you mean.
So there's an issue about, overproduction versus making sure they're going to buy at the end of the day.
So there's that, and I guess the question of
like saying, is that what it is? They might say no. And then where does that leave you?
Our facilities in China, whether we go down that path or whether we can continue to do it out of Australia. You know, I believe we do need facilities in China.
Yeah, you have nothing there right now at all? Okay. And have you investigated opening up anything at all in China right now, or are you still in the early stages of it?
Oh, no, look, it's been something I've been meaning to talk to my banker about. We've kind of discussed around the edges before, but, we haven't really talked about it in depth.
Right. Let me ask you a question. I was doing some more research on the industry, and one of the things that stuck out is that
if someone's mentioning like a desire here, which this guy is doing, he's got a desire to set up in China, I would be asking, why is that important to you? Why is having a base in China important to you? Why is that on your radar altogether? What would that allow you to do? Again, we're creating more depth to the conversation. We're creating more impact. If I'm just going to fill in the gap and continue speaking and put words in a prospect's mouth, I'm not going to gain that context from their perspective. If we get it from their perspective, it's so much more powerful than me just presuming what it possibly is. And he also asked, have you investigated anything? Now, I'm not sure whether he's going to go into this further, but he didn't really get context on it. So I'd be asking, I guess, like, what have you done already, and why do you feel like it hasn't worked to the level that you'd like it to be?
in fact, there's still a massive growth potential for you here domestically in Australia, right? I mean, you're really scratching the surface domestically. You have a good market share, but obviously the market's growing here pretty much 15-16% a year. There's still so you also kind of building the current market share as well?
Absolutely. You know, we've certainly got strong customer relationships here in Australia, and I think there's a lot of opportunities for growth here. I think we've got a unique opportunity in China because of our accreditation standards, and the Chinese are very
easy to get.
No, I think we might be the only Australian company that has it. Right. So, you know, we could go very comfortably just focusing on Australia, and that might be might be the best path. I'm not sure, but the China is dangling out there, I guess.
Right. I know. It's kind of like I do, not just obviously in the organics. I mean, pretty much every business is for high tech, low tech. And everyone's kind of China's like this kind of this 900-pound gorilla in every conversation. And the idea, I think that's the question, the challenge everyone everyone faces, we know we got to go there. There's a massive market there, but how do we get there in a way which is basically risk averse, but allows us to kind of test the waters, and if we hit it, to kind of expand quickly and capitalize.
Yeah, you're right. And the risk thing for us is really important. I mean, while we've got some ambitious plans, we don't want to take on too much.
Right. No, makes sense. And in terms of you, where you fit in with the company, in terms of what's your,
Wow, he just brought up risk and it got swept under the rug. And he started to speak about their responsibilities. I've not watched this full video yet, but my presumption would be that risk concern isn't going anywhere. That's going to rear its ugly ass head at the end of the call. But after you've offered the price and gone through the price and people are in more of like a fear state, it's going to be a lot harder to deal with. If someone brought up risk and used that sort of language early in a call, I would definitely be addressing it head on.
Your answer, do you manage the entire company, or how does it work?
Yeah, so I'm a major shareholder of the company, and I manage the operations day to day. So I'm very hands-on on the operational side of the company.
And how about the brothers, the guys those are the two?
Yeah. One of my brothers is quite involved, but probably not quite as involved as I am. He looks after some more of the marketing and sales elements.
I mean, this is always good. Figuring out, especially if you're B2B, who you're having a conversation with, are they the decision maker, and is there any other interested parties? That's good.
And then my father still has an active role in an advisory sense, and a minor shareholder, but it's mainly operationally run by myself.
Got it. And how about the actual, do you have a CFO that reports to you, or?
We have a business manager, and he looks after a lot of the finances, a lot of the accounting and that sort of thing.
I feel like this is why Jordan is perceived to be one of the best salespeople in the world. His level of confidence, certainty, body language, his facial expression is on point. Even I want to buy from him, even though he's probably not doing the best job of questioning. The way that he is actually perceived to look at, I sort of just want to trust him. Yeah, that's one thing that he's 100% got locked in, and I'm sure he's taken a lot of time to work on it.
So I guess he's like a CFO.
Right. So you're basically fully integrated in the sense that your own farms, right? You've actually grown this up, processing it, and then shipping it out. That's right. This China work, shipping domestically. Yep. And your plan be to do it in China, with China, because I personally think it's a massive market. I'm a big believer in the China story, don't be lower, okay? So would you be looking to develop products here and then shipping them abroad and processing China? Actually, got land in China, and in China.
I think with organic products, especially the dairy industry, is that because you can't use the preservatives. It doesn't
have such a bit of production, kind of both elements of that.
I fast forwarded all that section, but I'm actually sat here listening to it live. And when you're on a sales call, ideally, you should be speaking as the closer 20% of the time. I teach a rule to all my students called the 20-minute rule. The first 20 minutes of the call, basically, you should shut the fuck up as much as possible. And the ball should proverbially be in the prospect's court for the first 20 minutes of the call, so we can fully understand them. Through this, the prospect has said a couple of lines, and Jordan's just pitch the whole way through. And potentially he could be pitching the complete wrong thing because he doesn't even have a full understanding of the prospect at this stage.
That equation wrapped up. Now, again, like obviously I'm a banker, I'm not in the organic food business, but one thing I do know is there are certain core distinctions that every industry, whether it's your industry, whether it's computers, whether he's selling automobiles, okay? So what we try to do, again, we have a client like you, we don't look at things, hey, they're organic, that's separate. It's something sort of global, like for instance, Mary, Don, right? One of the things we did for Mary was to save her a tremendous amount of money domestically and overseas on our commodities, okay, and on some of our currency swaps that she was doing. And the ways we did that is because we understand there are certain peculiarities in our industry, but at the same time, there were also some commonalities that apply to all industries. So we're able to come up with a model that directly suited her needs. That would, she has similar, not exact similar concerns in the sense that she produces too, a little different than a different industry, but she's producing, not sure what she's going to sell. So it's important that she actually has access to her supply chain, but doesn't end up stuck with 2 months of inventory.
Now, this is really good what Jordan's doing here, and I use this a lot, and it's telling case studies and stories to get your point across. So rather than pitching a feature or a benefit directly, you say, oh, I actually had a client last week who was in a pretty similar situation to you, not exactly, but quite similar. Here's a story about them. Here's how we helped them. Here's the result that we got. Does that make sense? And through doing it that way, it's in our nature as humans to absorb stories and examples a lot better than if things are just told to us, like as a matter of fact. The truth is much stickier in story.
It's perishable, right? But I guess you need to kind of ultra just-in-time inventory strategies, right? To drive yourself to market. So I think for you, if I know over the long term we can do a lot of stuff for you, but I think I could best serve you by just just starting off doing one thing for you, okay? And then let me just start and try to do one thing for you really, really well. Like, I don't want to interfere with you with Titan. I'm sure that they're great and everything. I know them. They're a very good, reputable company. Respect them. But we specify in something that's a little bit different. And one of the first things I'd love to try is to take a look at exactly what you're doing with your commodities, the hedging strategies and the currency stuff. With the stuff you're doing both in Singapore, Hong Kong, and in China. Okay, and I want to get in there right away, straight away, and I want to go in there and give me a shot to beat it. Put a small amount of your trades through me, and then analyze in 30 days the percentage gain. And if I'm even half as good as I say I believe, you'll be moving all your business over to me after that. That sound fair enough?
This is like an old school Wolf Wall Street, micro close, just going in for a small amount of business to begin with, getting the trust, and then that leading to a much bigger upsell further down the line, which is good in itself, but it's very 1995. And what I would have preferred him to do, way more different throughout this entire call, is learn more about the prospect. Let's learn about where he actually wants to go as a business. What is the clear outcome? What's the end result of doing all this? Where do you want to be? Why do you want to be there? Why is that important? Why is that important for the business? Why is it important for you personally? What sort of impact is that going to have? Great. Let's start there. We don't even have this through the whole call. Then, from there, we want to look at current situation. We want to get the context of the current situation to begin with, but we also want to understand what's maybe not working as well as he would like about the current situation. Is it commodities, like Jordan's pitching? Or is that not even a problem for him? Because if we don't have this information and Jordan's pitching commodities, he might lose the sale because he's actually pitching to something that the prospect doesn't even want. So understanding what is maybe the problems around the current situation, what sort of impact they have, why that's a problem for them, and getting that full understanding. Then we want to look at what they've tried up until now, why what they've tried up until now hasn't worked as well as they'd like it to be, and get a real understanding of what happens if maybe these methods that aren't working as well as they'd like and the current situation stays in that. What happens if it stays as it is? Is there any impact of that? And that's like real basics. Obviously, there's so much more depth I would have gone into, but I would have at least hit those like 4 key points to get an understanding of the prospect. And there's also even more advanced methods, things like identity. If we're speaking to a founder or a CEO, often the things that drive people at that level is identity. Are they operating the business in the manner that they would actually like to be perceived to be doing? There's so much more, and I'm sure if you're having a look through my content, you can probably see how I structure calls, but my point from this video is that we didn't even scratch the surface in the discovery. We got some key facts, surface level things, and then just went straight into pitch mode. Now, Jordan is very good at pitching. I cannot fault it. He's very good at it. He speaks with absolute certainty and confidence, which will carry you so far in itself. He's amazing at that. But let's get the real context. Let's get the full understanding of where they're at so we can weave that into the pitch and offer them a bespoke solution rather than this just like general, this is what I could maybe do, let me start small. Let's have a look how he handles objections towards the end of the call and where they could maybe be improved as well.
Obviously, we didn't get to where we are by burning our clients, okay, and we didn't get there by working on able. We have three areas of excellence, right? Banking, finance, and asset management, right? I will literally go and comb our 3,500 employees to find the exact person that knows your business well, the exact program that best fits your needs, and I keep it simple. I'm here to not just put you into any program, but to hold your hand every step of the way, guide you in, guide you out, take a phone call away, and as far as LMK goes, again, long-term relationship, our clients trust by being right, by being diligent, by not risking their money, okay, and by also being there when there is a problem. So again, all I'm asking for is this. What's the worst that can happen? Let's just say that I'm wrong, right? Let's say he give you a month, okay, and you hedge, we run $5 to $10 million through a hedging strategy here, okay, and let's say at the end of the day, you don't make any more money.
If someone has genuine concerns about a product or a solution, just saying what could possibly go wrong, there's probably a lot of things that could possibly go wrong in their mind. And it's up to us as closers to ask the right questions to uncover what they are. Instead of going, what could possibly go wrong? We can maybe transfer a couple of $1 billion, maybe you don't make any money, give me a chance. Is that going to cut it for a sophisticated prospect? I don't think so.
Let's say you lose 1 basis point down the road, and I'm wrong. You say, Jordan, you just followed it, didn't work, and you fire me. Is that going to put you in the poorhouse of the company, honestly?
Look, probably not. I have to see the numbers. But
it's not going to kill you, right? Right. And on the upside, let's say I am right. I am, okay, and I can show you a 25% return. And you're like, Jesus Christ, this guy actually...
Again, one thing that Jordan is a master of, which will serve you so well, is certainty. He is so certain here that he's going to knock it out of the park for this prospect. And when you're certain, that fosters certainty in the prospect as well.
Actually save me, $27,000 on a small amount of money. It's not going to make you the richest company in Australia, right? Right. Not going to make you rich, not going to make you poor. But it will do, it will serve as a benchmark for future business. And then you'll know you have a guy that knows what he's doing, okay? And from there, we can work bigger and better down the road. So all I'm asking for again is this. One shot, give me 30 days, okay? If I'm wrong, you fire me as your broker, okay? But if I'm right, not only am I going to want you to do bigger and better, I'll offer some referrals too, because that's my business truly grows. Does that sound fair?
So look, it sounds interesting.
Does that sound fair enough? Give me a shot. Come on. Here's my concern. Here we go.
Here's my concern.
Okay.
So we get into business. Who else am I going to deal with? You're a big company. Am I going to always get you each time? Are you going to bring another product specialist? I know it's like with bigger banks. That's why we prefer to keep with a small relationship bank. I don't want that.
No, I totally get that. And by the way, just so you know, L&K is interesting for one sense. Well, we are a big bank. But we're not an ANZ or an NAB where it's so ridiculously impersonal, okay? Where it's like, you're dealing with 1,000 faces in the customers, you call the recording up and press 1, oh yeah, we can call you between 12 and 12:01, right? It's not that, right? We're a merchant bank, and it's a bit different, which is more of a family banking model, which is why I really believe it fits so well with your business model and the organics, right? Because we are an older line. We start off in fact in the cattle. We actually started off in commodities. That's why we built our business around commodities, and from there we went to banking as a result of the hedging. So that's why we're the #1 company about hedging and commodities, which is why I think it's such a perfect.
I mean, it's a great rebuttal to an investment, and it definitely answers the question. But if someone asks, if someone has any concern, any objection, I always want to gain more context on it. Why is that a concern for you? I'm just curious. And often that layer deeper will give us way more context on the actual objection and better equip us to handle it instead of steamroller in it. Like when it comes down to objections, an analogy is if you had a screw in a wall and you needed to get it out, one way to get it out is to run up with a sledgehammer and smash the wall to bits. But the best way to get it out is go up, look at it, inspect it, take your time, figure out exactly what head it is on the screw, go over to your toolbox, get out that exact tool and use it. And that's how I like to approach objections. It's using the right tool. And if someone gives me a bit of uncertainty or a bit of a question, I want to gain more context always. So then I can handle it like a sniper, not a shotgun.
In terms of me, you'll only be dealing with me. And if there's someone else I want you to meet, they'll be with me. In other words, if I say I got a guy who's has a new algorithm that's going to allow us to make an extra 7 basis points a month on the turn, I'm not going to say, hey, the guy's coming with me. I'll have him come with me, or we can have dinner, whatever it might be. But it's not going to be 30 faces. There's going to be me and only someone else if I believe that person, okay, can help with the conversation. But if you only want to meet me, we can just be the two of us. But again, all I'm asking for is, I'm asking to get married right now. Okay, I believe in starting small because I know I can prove myself to you. Now, if I was here saying to you, I want all your business fire tight and do this, do that, right? Get out of here, right? Okay, but I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that I'm confident if you just see a little bit of what I can do, we can use that as a benchmark to go forward. So again, I'm asking for one shot, 30 days, and believe me, you're going to be a client for life. Sound fair enough?
Look, I have to see the numbers, but it sounds reasonable.
Perfect. So let's open up the account now.
I mean, he's smooth, he's slick, but handling objections in that way, by looping round with features and benefits, which is how Jordan approaches objections, right? He just tries to circle back around with the features and the benefits of the product and allows them to fill the gap. And it sort of answers the question, but it never truly gets over the fear. So if a prospect has a fear objection and something that's holding them back, just slamming on more features and benefits isn't actually gonna help them. Yeah, it might psychologically confuse them a little bit and think, oh, that's sort of answered, okay, yeah, I'll go ahead. And then going in like Jordan did in what's called a presumptive close. So the guy said, we can use that as a benchmark to go forward. So I'm going to ask you for one shot, 30 days, believe me, you're going to be a client for life. Sound fair enough? And he says, look, I'll have to see the numbers, but it sounds reasonable. That's not a close. He said, I have to see the numbers. That's still an objection. And Jordan just goes, great, we'll open up the account right now. I'm telling you for free, if you're on a high ticket sales call and you get to the end of it and you go, okay, to go forward to achieve XYZ desire, it's $5,000. Naturally, the next steps from here, we go through your onboarding, We accept credit card, debit card, where do you want to go from here? I mean, it sounds reasonable. Great, what's your credit card details? It's going to rub people up the wrong way, and you're going to lose a lot of sales by having this process. With sales, reverting back to what I went through at the beginning of the video, it's important to always be on that cutting edge, because if people have been through a few different sales scenarios, they are used to what most salespeople sound like. So the best thing you can be often is different to the people that they've spoke to previously. And by being different, it makes you stand out. And and having a real understanding of biopsychology and what actually drives people to make a decision, and how to handle an objection in a way that actually handles it rather than completely steamroller it is going to serve you so much better than this approach. Jordan, big respect. I wouldn't be here without you. 80% of what you teach is on the money, but I feel like you could dig into discovery so much further, find way more about your prospect, and actually handle objections rather than steamrolling. You're a legend of the game, but if people are still following these tactics on high ticket sales calls, then I can assure you that you're going to be losing out on deals. If you want help learning frameworks that actually work, that actually close high ticket deals, and you want practice, you want real guidance and mentorship from me, plus assistant landing high paying remote positions, then just drop me a DM on Instagram, or you can click the link below this video and book a call with me for a chat. Ciao.